Hey guys. So, I've been struggling with something over the last year, but it's gotten more pronounced in the last couple of months. Not that I have any solutions, really, but I've always been a very goal-oriented, driven, motivated person. I'm always looking at the end goal, the purpose in everything that I do. And that has been a big driver in my life. I like to think of the big picture and what ultimately do I want to accomplish and experience and do and be and turn into and transform and grow and then 2020 happened. Which is just okay, so 2020 was weird. We were all kind of freaking out, not knowing what's going on. Big, huge changes in our day-to-day life, in our daily perspectives and our routines, And then, it continued on to 2021, and it started getting tiring. It started feeling like, okay, what's really going on here? And, global politics and agenda and all of that stuff aside, I do think that that we're experiencing this great awakening, this transformation of humanity. And so that transformation, from what I understand and what I feel, is that all that we've known, all the structures and institutions, all the things that we consider normal are crumbling. And I think it's really thrown me off kilter, and I know I'm not alone in feeling this, but it's like I've lost my sense of equilibrium. So I sort of spent 2020 in the state of confusion, 2021 in this state of questioning who I am and what my role in this world even is. And I've never really struggled with this before. I've always wanted to know what's my purpose. I've always been very oriented towards some bigger purpose or calling, some meaning to my life. And although that's changed as I have changed, now I'm kind of just finding myself in this state of I don't even know anymore. I don't really know. And so it's been frustrating. I feel like it's been a source of anxiety for me because of that, just feeling unbalanced, of not having answers that I'm used to having. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's the point. Maybe this is some sort of spiritual disconnect. Maybe it's a movement away from being so hyper focused on the end goal and more focused just on the moment. And I just did a video about this, but it's hitting me maybe in a different way, rather than being so intent upon taking advantage of every moment I have. It's more a release of the things that I feel I don't know, have been big drivers for me, or I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm saying. I was out for a hike yesterday. It was lovely. Moab in the wintertime is just spectacular because it's so quiet. I've only been here in April and October when it's been crazy, when everybody comes to Moab, but January in Moab is magical and silent. And I don't know, I the last couple days I've been feeling a lot of anxiety, overwhelming, and not understanding why. Why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? What's wrong? What's off? What's off that's causing me to feel this just ugh? And so I did what I often do when I'm feeling anxious or unsettled. I went for a long hike, and I stopped at one point. I'm surrounded, just by red rocks. And I looked around, and it was that deafening silence. And it was so beautiful. And as I kind of just stood there soaking up the sound of nothing, I could hear, like, and this has only ever happened once before in my life, I've heard like chimes or something, some sort of like music. I can't describe it any other way, but like the music of nature or something. And it was a little unnerving at first, and the only other time I experienced this was in Sedona. It was a very similar situation where I was just like out alone in the red rocks, and I heard like music, but there was no music. It was very odd, and I felt kind of just surrounded by like spirits. And I had this realization in that moment, both in Sedona and yesterday, where it was like, oh, that's right. I am a spiritual being. I am like in a spiritual playground right now. Like there's all kinds of stuff going on that I can't see or understand with my human eyes and brain, but maybe I don't need to see or understand it. Maybe I just need to be in this spiritual playground having fun with the music from the mountains. And as goofy as that sounds as I say it, there's also like something very calming about it. I felt my anxiety just sort of like, and I think that melting away of the anxiety was just like, in that moment, releasing my need to know and understand who I am and why I'm here, what's my purpose, what am I supposed to be doing. I felt like these goals that I had set for myself over the last, like, say 2 years ago, right before all this stuff started, I had this long list of goals. I was gonna like grow my business into this massive firm and make my first $1 million and blah blah blah, and I was like highly motivated by this. And now it all seems like or another thing that I've always been very driven by is like body goals, this sculpting this perfect body and physique. And I don't know, over the last year and a half it's been like, well, I want to be healthy, I want to be fit, I appreciate my body, I appreciate my mobility, I treasure all the things that my body can do for me and the experiences that it can help me to have. But like in terms of being on some kind of quest for some hardened physical perfection, which is always, fleeting. As soon as I get to the place where I think it's like, oh yeah, if I just lose 5 more pounds, or if I just can see my abs, or if I just whatever, it's always on to the next thing. There's actually never any real satisfaction that comes from that. And so these goals that have been such drivers for me now suddenly feel so empty. And so if you're like me, someone who's always been like, got your checklist and your to-dos and your ultimate accomplishments and dreams and stuff, and now all that just kind of feels like pointless. Well, what do you do? And I think, look, I don't have any answers. I'm just on camera rambling, But I think what we do is just seek joy and peace and fun. Maybe we put too much pressure on ourselves. I know I do. I know. I am like super guilty of that. And it doesn't do anything. It doesn't benefit me in any way to constantly feel like I'm never enough, or I've always got to be pushing or striving to the next thing, which then, of course, then is never enough. Why do we have to always be on to the next, on to the next? You know what I mean? I remember in 2010, after bicycling across the country from Virginia to Oregon and standing at the Pacific Ocean, looking out onto the water, and not even being able to celebrate the accomplishment. There wasn't even a moment of like, wow, Jessica, that's pretty awesome what you just did. You know, it was like, what's next? What's next? And I just feel like I'm learning how toxic that is. And so maybe we just need to let go of these things. If they don't feel significant anymore, they don't feel like they're serving us, then is there really much point in trying to sit and dissect and analyze why suddenly this stuff doesn't feel like it matters? Maybe it's just saying, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe I've grown out of that phase in my life. Maybe I am evolving as a human, as a soul. And maybe I just want to spend more time listening to the music in the mountains. And maybe that's okay. If it brings me peace and joy. I spent enough of my life struggling with the lack of peace, feeling of chaos, a sense of joylessness. That's not a fun way to live. I think it's a changing of priorities. I don't know how this will pan out, but I'm going to see where it goes.